something strange happens right before you hit a major breakthrough in your life, and especially along your spiritual journey. Instead of seeing it coming, instead of this obvious anticipation, oftentimes what happens right before you hit a major game-changing, perspective-expanding, life-altering breakthrough, you go through a period of inner turmoil, great uncertainty. Even your life may be reflecting your inner state of confusion and angst, and it can seem like things are getting worse. You're getting worse, life is getting worse, you're kind of trapped on this downward spiral with no end in sight, no hope to speak of, and yet oftentimes this is the exact point where things begin to change, where you turn not just a gradual upward slope, but when you bounce back pretty much in the exact opposite direction into a completely new phase and chapter of your life as a new and improved, more aligned, more healed, more authentic version of yourself. I call this period, though, the dip before the shift. There's a great line in the book, The Alchemist, very popular spiritual book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It says, at the beginning of the journey, the seeker will experience beginner's luck. But by the end, the victor will be severely tested. The beginning of your journey, the beginning of my journey, the beginning of the journey oftentimes is like that, where you might feel like a strong sense of guidance. Like finally, something has awoken in me, this other part of my consciousness, this guardian angel has finally come to kind of help lead me always towards my true north in life. And you might experience these like synchronicities, these coincidental, fast-moving periods of progression in life, like a new opportunity falls into your lap type of thing. And you might just feel very connected to whatever, the other side, your soul, your inner guidance, your intuition is stronger. And you think, man, I've got it. This is great. This is what I've been missing my whole life. And things are moving, things are happening, you're loving it. And then all of a sudden, all of that starts to kind of quickly fade away. Your intuition isn't there. It's just gone. You don't know where it went. You don't know what you did, what happened, but you just don't feel it anymore. Life is not flowing either. Life is presenting you instead with problems and challenges. But not just any problem and challenge. We can maybe be okay with that because, of course, that's life. But these problems and challenges have a particular quality, which is to really do a great job at triggering you, bringing up deep wounds, deep fears, provoking almost disproportionate emotional reactions. A far cry, quite a contrast from how things were when you were flowing, connected, at peace. Now it's the opposite. You're cut off. You're crazy inner upheaval provoked by outer challenges. This is the dip. This contrast, my friend, is something that happens again. It's not just a one-time period floating among the eagles and then all of a sudden that was it. Hope you enjoyed it because it's over. You will go back up again. The difference is when you allow yourselves to go into this type of turmoil, the dip, when you do go back up, you're going to be even higher than you were before. Another great analogy is Bashar. He's a channeler, and he has this really cool rubber band analogy, and it goes like this. When you pull the rubber band back, he says, into your shadow, into the darkness, into the parts of yourself that have been unconscious to you. It's uncomfortable. It's exactly as I described, this fall from grace. But the further you allow yourself to pull it back, that exact proportion, you will shoot into what he calls the light, which is more of your true self, into expansiveness, into alignment, into manifestation of your true preferences, your true capabilities, bringing into your life almost effortlessly what you deserve, the love, the abundance, the support. That is the result of this rubber band being pulled back, i.e. what I call the dip. So now in this video, what I'm going to do, I'm going to break this down for you so you really have a good understanding of this dip. So you can notice it when it happens, know what to do while in it, and most importantly, know how to roll with it and get yourself out of it and get all the benefits that come along with it. So here's the way the dip can play out in a person's life. Number one is outer turbulence. This could be a relationship shifting unexpectedly, your career situation all of a sudden is unstable, your living situation is in question for whatever reason. And it's not about that so much, it's about how it makes you feel. There'll be some key pillar to your life that will start to shake essentially. And that'll cause you deep, deep feelings of just uncertainty and lack of safety. Now, we all have our own karma, if you will. So for you, it might be involving relationships. Maybe a very, very close friend says, hey, listen, I got this job opportunity. I'm moving across the country. And you're happy for them, but it's like, they're like your rock. Maybe it's you and your partner are growing apart or going through some challenges. And it's probably going to be fine, but just that happening can sometimes bring up deep, deep feelings, essentially. A lot of people, for me, it always plays out with my finances and my career. I'll have like it could be like maybe I sell something, I launch something, and it doesn't do as well as I thought. It could be something even minor. It doesn't have to be huge problems, but something goes unexpectedly, and that'll cause me to feel unsafe in my own personal life. And again, the other popular one is something involving your living situation, is like in the process of changing. Secondly, due to this outer disturbance, you'll feel like an inner process going on. Lots of uncertainty, lots of inner turmoil, lots of fear, doubt, and this can sort of wreak havoc on your body even. If you're in a period of like uncertainty, essentially, it's hard to relax. Your nervous system might be revved up all the time. Your sleep might get disrupted, which only adds to the problems. And you might find yourself like not handling the outer uncertainty very well. And even with your best efforts to have faith and to trust and maybe to meditate or whatever it is you do, you find that usually only helps you a little bit of the time. Like whatever's happening is beyond your ability to smoothly ride through, and with as much work as you've done. And this also can be kind of humbling too. Like I've done a lot of work. I've been meditating for over a decade. How dare I be so floored by this circumstance? I should be better than this, but here I am not. So it can be a real humbling experience witnessing yourself reacting opposed to responding. And usually, to add to the mix, the third component of this dip is an ego dissolution. There might be part of your identity that was once very stable and supportive, even relevant to your life circumstance, and all of a sudden you're like seeing through that. How that either is outdated or was never true to begin with, or you're leaning way too heavily on it. This happened to me as an example of what I'm trying to say here a long time ago when I stopped being a personal trainer. I was a personal trainer from the time in my head, like since I was like 14. I was training my friends in my basement. But I became an actual personal trainer shortly after that, out of high school, and eventually owned my own personal training gym. And I had quite a few clients. I had a fully functioning personal training studio that I was proud to own. And when I had like one of my big dips was when I realized that it's time to move on. It's time to find like a deeper level of my purpose. And I realized then how reliant I was upon my identity. Victor Oddo, the fitness guy, essentially. That was who I was. That is what made me special. That is what made me unique. I knew more about working out and nutrition than most people. And that gave me a sense of importance. And when it was time to move on in a completely different direction where that identity no longer was useful, I felt like a nobody. I felt like worthless almost. I felt like I don't know who I am without that. And I know that can't come with me. And that produces like a very unique type of like existential type of anxiety, you might say. But when you combine that questioning of oneself with the outer turmoil and the inner upheaval, no wonder there's people like me making videos about it, because it's a very gnarly experience to go through. And it's no wonder people, when they're going through it, feel and think, I'm regressing. I must have pissed off the gods or something, because the proof's in the pudding. I'm a mess. I feel horrible. My life is collapsing right before me. Something I did upset the cosmos in some way. And I don't know what to do. I feel genuinely helpless. I feel genuinely incapable of handling this type of multifaceted crisis. And yet this is like the gold is there. This is the essence of transformation. In fact, there's a line right out of the book, The Dark Night of the Soul by St. John of the Cross. In fact, I wrote it down here. I'm going to read it to you. It's short. The brighter and purer is the supernatural light, the more it darkens the soul. So what I'm saying, the more horrible you're feeling right now, the more chaotic your life circumstance is, the more profound the transformation that you're actually going through right now as a result or alongside of it. And also, even on a practical level, as unsettling as this can be sometimes, it's the perfect recipe for thinking in an expanded way, for seeing something that might be available to you right now that you could be having or doing or experiencing in life that you're blind to. And sometimes this exact recipe of agony is exactly what we need to start essentially thinking outside of the box. This happened to me years ago. In fact, after I stopped being a personal trainer, I went onto YouTube. That was like my next calling. And it wasn't like this instant success. It's something that took some time and required a lot of sacrifice and struggle on all levels. And at one point, I found myself pretty much paying my bills with credit cards. I had like 6 or 7, like almost 8, I think, credit cards. And I got to a point where pretty much all of them were maxed out. And I literally like could not afford maybe another month to go by without actually making some money from this, me following my YouTube calling. And so I chose to do something. I chose to launch a new course, a new digital course. I was going to sell it for $97. And I thought to myself, if I can sell like, maybe 100 a month or 30, I forgot what I projected, but if I could sell a certain amount, I'd be okay. And what happened was I launched the course and only 2 people bought it. I made $200. And that to me was like my version of the external uncertainty. It created this strong, like very real, almost paralyzing fear that life is not looking good right now. I saw no hope in sight. I was in it. My soul was blackened, as St. John of the Cross says. But then from there, one day I was on my YouTube channel and I saw a comment. And the comment said, "Victor, do you do coaching?" Question mark. For some reason, that comment just almost like caught my attention in a very synchronistic way. And it just like echoed in my brain. And I realized I had been asked that question so many times. It never even occurred to me to do coaching. And then as that sort of set in, I thought to myself, maybe people don't want another course from you, Victor. Maybe they want to work with you. And that's exactly what I did. I started working with people. I took myself from credit card debt to making good money within about a week. I filled up my schedule with about 30 clients because I had already had the ability to do that. I just didn't know it. I needed the dark night. I needed the turmoil. I needed that course launch to fail so I could finally see what's been in front of my face the entire time, something that has improved my life, expanded my life in so many beautiful, countless ways. Not just financially, but in terms of having a satisfying life and helping people in a very real way. And what a blessing. I am so grateful I went through everything I needed to go through in order to have that one realization. And that oftentimes it's the purpose of the dark night, the purpose of the dip, is to get you aware of who you are, what you're capable of having. But a lot of times who we are and what we're capable of having and experiencing is we are blind to. Now, before I get into the signs that you're about to break through, I do want to share with you a couple of the pitfalls that if you relate, I can almost guarantee you can relate to. One of them is constantly, desperately seeking for answers and certainty. You know, for me, as of like the last time was with ChatGPT. ChatGPT, what should I do? What about this? How, back and forth. At the end of that, I would feel scattered mentally and know that that was all just a complete waste of time, that it wasn't time to know. And then it benefits me from not knowing. Years before that, it was tarot cards. I'd try to seek answers from my tarot cards. Any little question that popped in my head, I'd ask the tarot cards. So you might have your own version of that, but what you probably have found is it doesn't really give you anything but maybe a very temporary relief. Some people panic. I've been known to panic as well, where like you get sort of lost in your external circumstance and also lost in your brain sort of forecasting of worst case scenario outcomes. And it creates like this frenzied, very, very like disconnected, fragmented, lower state of consciousness that in a panicky way you start operating from. And that can just create a lot of messes in a very short span of time. It happens though. It happens to the best of us. So if that's you, if you've done a little bit of that, don't beat yourself up, because just think about what led to it. You know, if you relate to what I'm talking about here, then like the dark night of the soul is a real thing, man. It's something that's real. And you know, we're not going through it in a monastery. We're not going through it with these like sage elders that can guide us through and hold our hands through. No, we're going through this maintaining jobs. I have a family. I have a dog right here I'm responsible for. House. You know, we have like busy, demanding external life circumstances, most of us. And yet, because what seems to be happening on the planet, which is this rapid call for humans to evolve in order to not destroy ourselves, you have everyday people like you and me going through what was once a very rare spiritual awakening, transformational experience. So cut yourself some slack is what I'm saying. Just kind of consider the situation. This is not easy to do. Even for the monks back then, it wasn't easy. But imagine you and I. We weren't expecting it. I don't remember consciously signing up for this. I had very little, if no guidance whatsoever. And I had a life I had to maintain. And I bet you do as well. So finally, my friend, here are some signs you're closer than you think to a breakthrough. Number one is your old life just doesn't fit. Something about it, the relationship, the living situation, the career, maybe all three. You've known it for a while. You sensed it before it even started breaking down, but now it's undeniable. This does not fit. Now I know you still might not know what is to replace it, what is to come, what will fit. You don't know, but you can, if you can say and honestly admit this is not it, and you're no longer trying to kind of futilely and desperately try to uphold it, and you're kind of surrendering to the fact that this is not it, that you're not in control, and there's only one direction you can go, and it's not backwards, which is tempting. Isn't it? Isn't it tempting when you're in these transitions to like want to just go backwards? Because usually you go from here to here and then to here. But when you go down initially in the dip, it's like, I had it better off before. Can I get that back? But you're going uphill. It doesn't work. You just can't. It's not you. It doesn't resonate. You've changed. You just changed too much. It's not gonna work energetically. It's doomed to create nonstop problems of increasing intensity the more and more you try to hold on. A friend of mine, Kyle C, says if it's heavy now, it's only going to become heavier with time. Number two, you're realizing that you need to level up. From this place, not from a shameful place or beating yourself up, but you also might be aware that, you know what? If I'm to kind of make it to the next chapter, so to speak, there are some things I need to work on. Maybe with your behavior, maybe with, a lot of times it's with our thinking. It's with the way our negative programs from mom or dad or society or whatever, just a collective. A lot of times we have these like default negative, sort of cynical ways of looking at life that lock us in to an old paradigm an old state of being, an old identity that we've resonated beyond. So in order for us to like become free of being like in limbo in this tug of war, we have to forego whatever parts of our current self are echoes of the past. And that's a great way to accelerate that. So for you, if you're like, for example, this is something when I went through a big business transition a while ago, I realized how negative my thinking was when things weren't going well, how quick I was to assume failure, defeat, disaster, and to jump to worst case scenarios. And I realized how that type of thinking made me feel very insecure. It made it very difficult to take action and get meaningful things done. It made it impossible for me to change the situation. I had to stop doing that. I had to stop defaulting to this very fear-based negative thinking. And what I did during that time proactively is I started to fill my head with just positive other mentors. I'd read books and things like that, even affirmations. I would like brainwash myself to think like a successful person because that is what I needed to get to the next level. So you might be at that point right now where you're realizing the parts of your old self that gotta go, and maybe some new things that you could work for that can be assisting you in this next chapter. Number 3, you're starting to see the lessons from the drama. You see that the problems, the challenges, the angst, all this, it like had very important, meaningful, relevant lessons that you needed to learn that benefit you from learning. So if you're coming out of reactive mode, finger pointing, blame mode, giving up, the world turned on me type of thinking, and you're finally starting to own it and say, I needed this. This is not fun, but this is exactly what I needed. I see the lesson. And number 4, you're being forced to trust. That you've realized you can only gain a very fragile, fleeting amount of certainty with your head and trying to figure things out in whatever way you've been attempting to do so. And you realize that the only thing that's left is to really just let go and to trust and allow whatever intelligence is orchestrating this entire scenario to show you what it's all about, show you the why, show you the where. And that is the way out, my friend. That is the only way out that I have found, is truly surrendering. Understanding that you can't stop this. You don't want to stop it even if you could. It's a good thing you can't stop it, but you can't. Years ago when I was going through this in a very, very big way, during a period of incredible uncertainty in my life that took me completely by surprise, I had this dream. And it was a very like archetypal dream if you're into Jungian psychology. It was a dream of a white and a very aggressive, albeit white buffalo. And it was in my home and it was like wrecking everything. It was going from room to room, just demolishing, plowing through tables and just like destroying everything. But the silver lining there is it was white. If you look up white buffalo, it's actually a pretty cool like omen basically. And what the message was is that your little house, your life, it's not really yours. You can't just take credit for it. This is a result of alignment. There is something greater than you as like the puppet master. And what this white buffalo represented was getting back in alignment with this intelligence, because I had gone off track for a little while there. But the point was like, how are you or I going to stop a white buffalo? What would you do if there's a white buffalo in your house? I'd run the hell out. I'd go out the front door and run away as fast as I could, climb a tree or something. It's not something you can fight with. You can't fight with fate. You can't fight with this process. So why try? Letting go is the only option. But when you can finally allow yourself to let go and surrender, that's when you start to learn the lessons. That's when you start to see the why. And that's when you start to pull out of the dip. And when you do, it's very fast. It can be very quick. Like me, when I had that idea to coach, it was like a week later, my entire life completely changed. I was finally financially secure. I had peace. I slept like a baby and I was so happy. There was all these new things that I didn't even know I wanted suddenly gifted to me right there in my life. That white buffalo, fate, if you will, it knows who you are at the core. It knows what you deserve. It knows what you want. And if you can let go and let it do its thing and learn the lessons and see where it's trying to kind of guide you, it'll show you. It'll show you how much better your life can be. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, my friend. I do have an offering for you that I think might help you if you're in this dip right now. Once a month, my wife Patty and I, we run these online transformation ceremonies. They're free to attend, just to say. We do somatic release breath work, sometimes past life regressions, many other cool things that are designed to bring people together for the purpose of transformation, healing, clarity, alignment. And it might help you. If you don't have access to anything like that, I'll leave a link down below. You just click it. I'll send you the Zoom link and the date for the next one. And maybe it can help you if you relate to this dip scenario I speak of here. So regardless, have an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.